Joining us now to talk about the lawsuit and more is the Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
It's good to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in quite a while. I'm thrilled that you're here. All right, so talk about the lawsuit and what is it, 25 Tea Party groups?
25 right now, but actually we're going to be amending the complaint next week, and it looks like there'll be another dozen. And we're getting, I will tell you, that our email boxes are full of organizations around the country, because it looks like they targeted probably about 400. And we're probably up to 100 contacts right now. I expect next week we'll file an amendment to the complaint, and in that amendment, I suspect we'll be adding at least another dozen, maybe more. So this is just the beginning of what is going to be a probably approaching 50 or maybe even more plaintiffs in the case. It's going to be it's probably the biggest piece of litigation we've ever filed.
Well, what are you looking for? What are you asking for in the lawsuit?
Three things. Number one, we have 10 of the clients, and there'll probably be more than that when we amend, but 10 clients that have been pending for 3 years with no action. And in fact, in some of those, no activity in the last year. Nothing. We can't get a response from the IRS. They won't respond to letters. So we're asking for those organizations to be granted exemption. We're also asking for a declaratory judgment from the court that the IRS engaged in, as you were just talking about, violating the First and Fifth Amendments to the United States Constitution by what they've admitted was selective targeting of conservative organizations. And three, some of our clients suffered real damages. Some of those organizations lost grants that they were entitled to because they did not get their C4 status. Others had, before we got involved, expenses regarding, accounting and legal fees. We're doing it pro bono, but others, some of them had lawyers and accountants helping them through it. So there's real damages here. So those are the three primary things. And then we've alleged, in addition to the defendants that we've alleged in the complaint, we've also alleged 1 through 10 unknown, because I think when we take discovery, we're going to find out there was a lot more people involved in this.
Now, is this just unique to Tea Party groups that are involved in the suit so far, and that you expect to sign on next week, or are you expanding? For instance, we know of, and there's a report today in the Washington Free Beacon that at least 5 pro-Israeli organizations have been audited by the IRS because they disagreed allegedly with the Israel, the Mideast policies of the Obama administration.
Right.
So is it expanding to other type of groups, or just Tea Party groups right now?
No, it's already, actually, even in this complaint, we have Tea Party groups and just some conservative organizations that were put in this dragnet. And as you mentioned, the pro-Israel groups, and that means that they were taking a position on Israel, and usually the issue of Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital, contrary to the Obama administration's position. And for that, they were placed in this dragnet of audits as well. So ours have conservative organizations in it. I expect it'll even be broader. I've talked to the folks with C Street. We know the situation there. So all of this will become, I think, as the next weeks unfold, there'll be more and more of these groups added.
There are reports today, records, actually a story broken by the Washington Examiner, Susan Ferrecchio, last week, that the former IRS Commissioner Douglas Shulman visited the White House, Jay, 157 times. Now, contrast that with the head of the IRS during the Bush 4 years of Bush. He went there once, and Susan told us that they separated themselves. He wasn't invited to Christmas parties, to the Easter egg roll, nothing. They wanted no appearance of impropriety. 157 to 1, and compared to other cabinet members, Geithner, 48, Hillary, 43, Holder, 62, 157. What does that say to you?
Yeah. Says that they had an awful lot of conversations about tax policy. I mean, it's an unbelievable number of visits. And you're talking about Mark Everson, the previous commissioner under George Bush. I think I was actually at that meeting when he was at the White House. And you're right. This whole idea, this whole narrative that the administration's put forward, where this is, these were one-off agents. And then I had the letter, of course, from tax lawyers with the IRS. Then they said it was just Cincinnati, and I had the letters from Washington, D.C., Main Treasury, 2 offices in California, and, of course, Cincinnati. So all of their narratives keep falling apart. And almost the more they do here, the worse it's getting for the administration. We now know the White House counsel knew, Chief Counsel knew. But what everybody needs to be focused on, Steve, this to me is the thing that really, the law part of it obviously bothers me a lot, and that's why we're in court. But does everybody realize that the IRS met with the White House counsel to determine how they were going to get ahead of that IG report, the Inspector General report? And they decided to plant a question after a speech at the American Bar Association meeting.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something. That in and of itself is so outrageous. And then she just says, I apologize. Well, if someone files a false return with the IRS, apology is not what they get. They usually get an audit, maybe criminal sanctions. So the apology is not accepted, and I don't think we even know the tip of the iceberg here.
We're talking to Jay Sekulow. He is the Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice. We've had the pleasure of speaking to your brother several times over the past couple of weeks. And here's another one. You talk about Lois Lerner. She's on paid leave. The one firing that took place was a guy who was leaving in June anyway. And now we have two promotions. We know about the person who ran this not-for-profit center or part of the IRS, who now is sitting there and planning and is taking over the health care portion, the IRS portion of health care. And we find out today that one of these so-called rogue guys from Cincinnati, who they blamed it on in the first place, low-level, 4 guys from Cincinnati, they did it on their own. A guy named Stephen Siak reportedly has gotten a promotion now.
Yeah, and I've got letters in my files from Steve, and he was involved directly with this. And by the way, these are not low-level agents. Even the frontline people are what's called tax-exempt law specialists. It's a special unit inside the IRS. So this whole, again, the whole narrative has been blown out of the water. And frankly, this scandal, we don't even know where it ends, because you got the head of tax exempt, who you're right, we're paying for, taking the Fifth Amendment before Congress. You got Schulman, who knew nothing about anything. You've got the head of the unit that was the supervisor, now running the Obamacare enforcement unit. In and of itself, that should send shockwaves to all of us.
Absolutely. And one more, I would assume your answer will be yes. Special counsel, as more than 70% of the American people want for this scandal?
I'll tell you something. I would rather hold off on the special counsel and let Darrell Issa's committee do its job, let us do our job in the courts. If it goes to a special counsel, here's the problem. It's going to fade away for months, maybe a year, and that almost gives the administration a free pass. I don't think we're at the special counsel point yet. I have a lot of friends that think we are. I just disagree on that. I think right now we need to let congressional oversight take its course, especially this summer.
And keep it in the light, the light of day. Otherwise, you say it'll be forgotten about.
It goes away. Correct.
All right. Hey, Jay, thank you for your time, sir. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
My pleasure. Take care. Jay Sekulow, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice. And